Hello, welcome back to Ever17 Out of Infinity. I'm starting Sara's route now for her character. I peeked into the compression chamber from the shadows and saw Sara. Sara was sitting in front of the thick window and staring at her pendant. I thought I might call out to her. I want to do her out first, I feel like it. She seemed to be focused on something. It looked like she was starting her sight of home. She finished singing. A tear streaked down Sara's face. It didn't seem like a good time to call out to her, so I went to leave. Then suddenly, in front of my eyes, another scene fused together with the one I was witnessing. A girl was sitting on the bed, crying in the same way. She was stifling her sobs to keep others from worrying. But who? Who was this? What could this all mean? What was the matter with me? With her voice, the image instantly vanished. Still confused by what I had just seen, I answered. It's me, Sara. Sorry, I wanted to say something, but it just didn't seem right. Sara wiped away her tears as if hiding them. It's okay. She seemed her upbeat self again. I faced her and sat down. That song, you sang it before. In front of the generator room, I think. Sara laughed as she said this. Is that song a lullaby or something? That was really pretty. I shook my head. I didn't recall hearing it before. I pretended to not think about it. Even if I did think about it, I didn't imagine I'd remember it. Sara said it sadly and glanced down at the pendant hanging from the middle finger of her left hand. There was something I wanted to ask you. I told her about how the image of the man in the hologram pendant had disappeared. I was sure the image was there yesterday. Huh? What do you mean? Yesterday when we looked at it, we were in LeMU. Oh. With that, Sara took the lighter from her pocket. She put the lighter's flame close to the pendant. Oh. The man in the hologram floated there, the same as the day before. The image wasn't as clear as before. I thought that it was probably the bad light. The room with the whale was mostly dark. I figured that was why he wasn't clear. As clear. So you have to hold the lighter flame next to it to see it? I asked to make sure. Well then. Sunlight? So that's when I understood why Sara always carries the lighter. Right. Carried the lighter. It was to look at the hologram. So Sara put out the flame. And lit it and put it out. And lit it and put it out. Oh, that's really sad though. Sara stared absently at the image of the man appearing and disappearing. Ah, Sara said this out of the blue. Oh. No parents. Ah.
それが当たり前のことなんだと思ってた。しばらくの間は。
Really? I didn't know how to answer. I couldn't think of a decent reply.
このペンダントが唯一の形見なんだ。
So that man is...
多分パパだと思う。わからないけど、私はそう思ってるの。
After a long silence, I said, "It's the same for me.
え？
I've forgotten everything. So I don't remember anything about my mom or dad. If I bumped into them on the street, I would never know it. Even if I get out of here in one piece, I don't have anywhere to call home. So I'm in the same situation. It's the same as not having any parents. Well, I should get going. I've got to go help Takeshi. The generator needs some fixing." I stood up. Oh, I kind of want to hug this girl or something. As I was about to leave, I thought of something. Hey, would you mind lending me that lighter and pendant again? Ouch, Takeshi, that hurts.
これぐらい我慢しろよ。男の子だろ。
Takeshi grinned sadistically as he patted my right arm. I remember sadistically. Have I seen this? The cast is made of especially formula plastic. Yeah, I've done this. I know I've done this.
いやー、しかしすごかった。人聞きの。どうせまた修理することになれば必要なんだ。
Oh, he's talking about the repairs. Okay. I remember seeing sadistically though. Stupid fall. Parent generator. Yeah.
空によれば綺麗に折れてるから治りも早いそうじゃないか。さてと。
I read that. I'm not reading it again.
腕だ。
Yada yada.
どっちにし。じゃあ。なんだよ。
Okay. I held Sarah's pendant out to
な
Takeshi.
んだまたこれかよ。
Yeah, I want you to look at it again.
めんどくせえな。
Even so, Takeshi took the pendant as he said this. This time, I thought he'd be able to see it as well. I was going to tell him that it was a picture of Sarah's boyfriend. Takeshi scrutinized the pendant. He turned it over, then sideways. And then...
なんだ、やっぱり何にも見えないじゃないか。
There has to be... Oh! I forgot. I took the lighter out, lit it, and held it up to the pendant. I showed the light on the pendant. How's that?
お前、からかってんのか？
Huh?
なんでライターごときで見えるようになんだよ。
Because that's how you see it.
はぁ？
Look hard, there should be a man's face there.
ああ、本当だ本当だ。あ、よく見りゃかっこいい男の顔が。
See, that's Sarah's boyfriend.
ほほう、そいつはめでてえや。俺はいつからサラと付き合うようになったんだ？それともこれは未来を映す不思議な鏡か？
What are you talking about?
この鏡には俺以外の男の顔は映ってないよ。イコール俺がサラの彼氏ってこと。
Idiot, there's no way you and Sarah would get together.
お前が言ったんだろうが。ここに映ってるのがサラの彼氏なんだろう。
No, I'm not talking about your ugly reflection. I'm talking about the holographic image.
ホログラム画像なんかどこにも浮かび上がってねえっつってんだろうがよ、バーカ。
Look again.
見てるよ。目き向いて見てるよ。ほら、ギロギロギロン、ギロギロン。
I looked over Takeshi's shoulder and peered into the pendant. Look, it's right there. I pointed at the hologram of the man. I don't think I can skip. Yeah, let me see. Nope, that's me. You're behind it. The guy inside the mirror is you. The guy floating in the front is who I mean.
浮かんでるやつなんかいねえって。なんか言わせりゃ気が済むんじゃボケ。
You came as we were repeating the sad exchange.
何騒いでんの？メンテナンス終わったんかい？
You, come talk some sense into this idiot for me.
俺はこっちのセリフじゃい。
何があったわけ？
I showed you the hologram pendant. And I used the lighter.
そこに映ってんのが未来のサラの旦那なんだとよ。
I didn't say that. You're twisting my words.
翔平、そうなの？ってことはマヨ、いずれ性転換手術でもするのかおい。あるいは私が。いやー、そんなの嫌。
What? Huh?
っていうかこれただの鏡じゃん。ホログラムでもなんでもないと思うんだけど。
It's a hologram. There's a guy's face in there. I wondered how many times I would have to shout out this same line. Look, he's right there. Right here, right here. Now I looked over Yu's shoulder and pointed to the pendant. So is it an actual mirror and he's just making something up? You really truly can't see it. Is he just mistaking this for when he saw himself in the mirror? You can't see the man's face? You and Takeshi looked at each other. They couldn't see it. Neither you nor Takeshi could. I wondered why in the world not. Moonlight showed into the sick room. I heard a voice crying somewhere. The muffled voice kept sniveling and sobbing again and again. Who was it? Who are you? I didn't know what I was escaping from.
待ってる。待ってるからね。
Waiting for what? Was I waiting for me? And where in the world was that? This was... Just then the scene dissolved away.
お前は逃げたんだ。あの子を置いて一人で逃げたんだ。
That voice kept repeating itself in my head. Wait, tell me. I didn't know what I had run from, or to where. What was I? Gradually, the scenery around me began to change into eerie colors. I woke up and almost leaped out of the bed. I was in the infirmary. My body was drenched in sweat. Ouch. A sharp pain shot through my right arm. I looked at my right arm and stared confused at the cast on my arm. I didn't know why. Then I remembered I had broken my arm and was resting. I was still foggy from the drugs. A string of hazy memories came back to me. I remembered the scary dream I had. I thought it was from the fever and medicine. I was sure of it. That's why I had such bizarre dreams. I shook my head and tried to get a better grip on my consciousness. I looked at the clock on the wall. It was a bit past 2 in the morning. Normally it would be in the middle of the night. But somehow it didn't feel like that at all. I tried to remember how long we had been trapped there. An extended amount of time in here, where the cycles of day and night were meaningless, really played with one's sense of time. I sat up, taking care to watch out for my broken arm. Sarah's pendant was by my left hand. It looked like I had fallen asleep with it clasped in my hand. I've got to return this. I slipped off the bed. My right arm felt slightly feverish, but because the medicine Takeshi had injected was probably still working, it didn't hurt much. But I still wasn't able to move it normally. Next to the pillow was a sling for me to hang my arm. I wondered if Takeshi had left it, or maybe you. Either way, I couldn't just let my hurt arm swing back and forth as I walked. I put it on. I thought about where Sarah might be. I figured she might be asleep. I wondered where she always slept. An image of Sarah atop the whale floated into my mind. I decided to try there first. If she weren't there, then I'd try somewhere else. Still a bit groggy, I left the infirmary. I went down into the elevator, and headed for Cosmic Whale. Yeah, I heard the sound of splashing. It wasn't from the generator room. It sounded like it came from the pipe room. I wonder what that is. When I entered the room... Oh, Sarah. What's going on? The moment I saw what was happening, I jumped into the water. Is she swimming or something? After I jumped, I remembered that my arm was broken, but it was too late. I swam towards Sarah, doing the best I could with my arm. Sarah, grab hold!
何 よ少年。
Just grab hold of me. I tried to grab Sarah, but she swam away from me.
ちょっとほっといてよ。
Huh? Wait, Sarah.
だから近づかないでってばスケベ。
Pervert, what? Then I noticed something a little strange. If I stretched my legs, I could just touch the floor. Sarah?
何よ。
You have a swimsuit on. What are you doing?
見ての通りだよ。
I don't know what it looks like, that's why I asked.
だから泳ぎの練習。
Practicing swimming?
そうだから見ての通りだって。
As if I would know. Flailing around like that. Anyone would think you were drowning. That was the comeback I watched in my mind, but what came out of my mouth was, oh, I see, well, geez, only that stupid line.
まあ少年には見られちゃったから言うけど、実はさ、私泳げないんだよね。
As she said this, Sarah continued flapping about madly in the water as if she were sinking. I guess she had a swimsuit here with her.
更
Oh,
衣室で水着を見つけたのね。
in the changing room? Oh. Distracted, I hadn't noticed. But when she told me, I did for the first time. Sarah was decked out like a LeMU employee in a one-piece swimsuit. I wondered why I hadn't noticed. I blushed with embarrassment. But still, watching Sarah's movements, it would have been more of a stretch to imagine her swimming than drowning. Besides, the medicine was still affecting me. I was making up all kinds of excuses. But Sarah didn't notice my confusion and kept at it.
だから今のうちに少しでも練習しとこうと思ったわけ。ここなら水もそんなに冷たくないし。
Now that you mention it, I realized the water was warmer than in the corridors. I imagined the heat from the pipes had warmed it.
だから一人で泳ぎの練習してたの。
I thought you were a ninja. Ninja can...
拙者泳ぎだけは苦手でござって。
I see.
うん。
She's just going for a
少年
swim.
殿に告白いたすが、
Okay
残念
then.
ながら
Interesting.
泳ぎが苦手なため免許改伝だけは受けられなかったでござるよ。
Is that right? What?
少年殿はあんな冗談を真に受けておられたか。ニンニン。
Oh, so that was a joke.
当たり前でしょ。何よ忍者って。
But...
でも泳げないのは本当だよ。なんかさ、こんな状況で泳げないのって不安でしょ。多分みんなの中で泳げないのって私だけだと思うんだよね。少年も泳げるでしょ。
I hadn't thought about it, but I thought I'd been swimming alright a minute ago. That meant that I could swim. Yeah, I can swim.
ちょうどいいや。少年、私に教えてくれない？
I don't think so, I suppose. If this is what she wants to do, okay, I suppose. Well, I'm already soaked to the bone, I might as well teach you a
本
little.
当？やった！でも、少年、妙に優しくない？
No, I'm not.
ああ、わかった。
What?
少年、私の水着姿に惚れたな。ダメだよ、そっちゃ。
I don't know what you're talking about.
ああ、武器になるところがますます怪しい。
Fine, I won't teach you anything then.
待って、行かないで。お願い。もうからかったりしないから。
Promise.
絶対。
Mm.
本当だってば。神様、仏様、ついでにご先祖様にも誓って。
Well, alright.
本当？私の気持ち分かってくれたのね。
Oh. Cute. Anyway, I should be going.
あ 冗談だってば。少年カムバック。
Sarah flapped her arms about, making even more spray. Oh, alright, I'll teach you, okay?
やった。あなたならそう言ってくれると私信じてたわ。
I said stop that. Sarah, you've gotta relax more. Just be natural, like... Sarah... I had to strain my voice to be heard over Sarah splashing. I had gotten out of the water. With my right arm in a sling, there were only so many ways to teach swimming. I just watched what she was doing and hollered out advice. But no matter what I said, she still looked clumsy. If you keep that up, you'll never learn to swim.
仕方ないでしょ。これでも精一杯言われた通りにしようとしてるんだから。
I see. You can't swim if you're so tense. You need to be smoother.
こう？
She only whirled the water into a bigger froth with more spray. Whoa, Sarah, slow down! I shouted instructions as I heavily the spray showering down upon me. Are you doing that on purpose?
そんなわけないでしょ。じゃあどうしろっていうの？
You've got to move more slowly, gentle, like...
柔らかくって言われたってどうすればいいのかわかんないんだからしょうがないでしょ。もう少年の教え方が悪いんだよ。
That ticked me off. Oh, I know.
何よ。
Sarah, you don't need to learn to swim, do you?
そんなわけないでしょ。
Really?
何？
Listen, Sarah. If you really want to learn how to swim, then you ought to listen to what I say. If you can't listen to what I say, then I'll be going. Do you want me to teach you to swim? So is there anything you want to say to me? Sarah glared at me menacingly. If not, then... I pretended I was about to leave.
あう。ごめん。
You say sorry. Did you say something?
だからごめんってば。もう意地悪しないで教えてよ。ね？あ、ねがい。
Don't talk like a baby.
何よ、ちょっとぐらいいいでしょ。それに私の水着姿少しは魅力的だと思うんだけどな。こんな水着姿の美少女と一緒にいられるんだよ。幸せでしょ。
You're pretty. Not even a little. Truthfully though, Sarah was something in a swimsuit, but I couldn't tell her that. I didn't want her to get big-headed. Now, why should I be so happy about seeing you in a swimsuit?
あー、ムカつく。
Sarah started kicking and showering me with water. Whoa, stop that right now!
ほら正直に言え。本当はドキドキしちゃってるんでしょ。
Why would I? You in a swimsuit? I was blushing, completely giving away my feelings.
ほら赤くなってる。本当は嬉しいんでしょ。
You're not listening to me.
いやー、男の子だね。
What's that supposed to mean?
まあこんな水着姿の美少女と一緒にいられたら健康な男の子なら誰だって嬉しいもんね。
It's not like that.
またまた本当はもっとよく見たいくせに。
I said I don't. I've had enough. I'm leaving. I was embarrassed because she'd seen through me. I really meant to leave the room. I heard Sarah scream behind me. Sarah? I hurriedly looked behind me. Sarah? Sarah? What's the matter? I wondered if her leg had cramped. I sprinted to the water's edge. And then... Water suddenly sprayed in my eyes, blinding me. The next thing I knew, I had slipped and was spinning in the air. The following instant, I was in the water. It all happened so quickly that I swallowed a ton of water and someone on my nose. My nose stung. I desperately fought to get to the surface. Ugh, Sarah!
なに少年
Sarah, pretending that nothing had happened, had resumed her swim practice. Sarah, you're mean. I approached Sarah. What?
だってあんなにあっさり引っかかるんだもん
Sarah.
修行が足らんでござるな少年殿
Seeing Sarah laughing with such enthusiasm, I realized that getting any angry was pointless. Actually, for some reason, I started to laugh. Sarah and I laughed for a while. Anyway, once my fit of laughter was done, I got out of the water.
少年
Sarah called out to me shyly. So, should we start?
うんではよろしくお願いするでござるよ師匠
You know I'm pretty strict. You think you can handle it?
はいでござる師匠
Okay, now let's get started. She's really playful. Listen, I think with you, Sarah, your body gets tight because you think you can't swim, so you have to relax more.
でも言われた通りにやろうとしてるんだけど
Yeah, but you're so stiff, like a scarecrow, or you're made of wood or something. You need to let your legs flow freely like this. Like a fish, maybe.
よしお魚になったわ
Okay, Sarah, you need to get pumped.
だってイメージがつかめないよ
Well, if you can't imagine a fish, then how about a dolphin or a whale? Anyway, you have to be relaxed and move freely. No, you're still too stiff. Relax more. Just let your feet go. Somehow teaching her to swim had become fun. It was fun to see Sarah, who was always in control of things, in the opposite position. Sarah! I waited for Sarah to emerge from the changing room. I played with her pendant. Looking at it without the flame or the lighter, it was just a mirror. I ran my finger around the edge of the pendant. I thought about what Sarah had said in the compression chamber.
私両親がいないの
Sarah looked so sad as she said it.
お待たせんどうしたの暗い顔して
Oh, it's nothing. But I brought this.
それ持ってきてくれたんだなのにごめんね最後まで付き合わせちゃって
You're the one that made me stay. I mumbled this.
なんか言った少年
Oh, nothing.
でも本当にありがとう最後まで付き合ってくれて
What? I was taken aback. I was waiting for some witty comeback. But since Sarah was sincere saying things. Wow, you're being surprisingly nice to me.
本当に感謝してるもん
Aw.
だってさ最後にはなんとか自力で泳げるようになったでしょ
Yeah, you did.
それは
Yay!
まだちょびっとだけどでもなんだか嬉しかったよあんなに真剣になってくれて
Sarah. I got a little bit embarrassed. Somehow watching Sarah struggle with something she was used to, always having her way, well, it was kind of fun. I had taught her how to swim correctly, but I did have an urge to be a bit of a bully about it. Still, I never thought that she would come out and say thank you.
本当に
Yeah, you know, don't bully her.
ね少年
She's really nice. Yeah, but don't let it go to your head because you can't really call what you were doing swimming. I was embarrassed and reflexively went into mean mode.
分かってるよ。機会があったらまた教えてね、少年。
She's so nice and smart, sure.
今度こそちゃんと泳げるようになるんだから。
Yeah, you just need a little more practice.
よろしくお願いするでござるよ。にーに。
Sure.
なんだか疲れちゃったね。
As she spoke, Sarah took the pendant and put it on. Then she took it in her hand and stared at it.
きっとお兄ちゃんがいたらこんな風だったんだろうな。
Sarah mumbled it, sounding lonely. Your brother?
うん、私ね、お兄ちゃんがいたんだ。すごくかっこよくて強くて大好きだった。すごく小さい頃に離れ離れになっちゃったけど、
I see.
でも約束したんだ。
Promised you?
うん、約束。必ず迎えに来るって。
Is that right?
うん。だから待ってるの。待ってるんだ。助けに来てくれるの。きっ
Sarah's words brought back a vision I had seen.
と。うん。約束だよ。迎えに来るまで。いい子にして待ってるから。いい子にして待ってるから。ずっと待ってるから。
I desperately tried to shake off the vision. The next morning, I overslept. I thought I might be in trouble with everyone, but it seemed like I wasn't the only one. The late start pushed our breakfast time back later than always. Nothing. We wanted to change the pace to do something fun, so we spread out a blanket in the park's rest area. The blanket was from a shop in the same fort at LeMU's and printed on it. Sora couldn't eat, but she sat with us. Sense, Moogie.
せーの。
Nothing.
やっぴ。あっち。
Yeah.
そう。順序。
Yep, remember rock, paper, scissors,
あっ
yada
ち向
yada.
い。
Here. Another scene here, singing softly. I was just chasing Coco, and now I have this scene.
夢の中より待ち降りぬ今宵柳つくよみ林早く今夏と待ち降りぬ眠りたもぬくと丸見て眠りたも
She had a good voice.
母に抱かれて
Her voice echoed quietly as if it were seeping into the night sky. Somehow it sounded faintly sad and lonely. I couldn't make myself call out to Sarah. It just skipped right past that. I was open to the jarring sound of metal screaming under strain. Strain? Huh. I didn't know if it was because of my broken arm or the swimming with Sarah, but I felt sluggish and feverish, so I took some medicine and went to bed. Vibrations shook through Lena. I wonder if something happened. By the time I had gotten out of the infirmary, the shaking had stopped. I thought that if I went to the security office, I might learn what happened. Okay.
さあ
I think I've seen this.
小町、ええ、浸水？はい。コスミッシャーバルに田中さんと松野。実はあの部屋のセンサーには今のところレミューのその。
So water breached the cosmic whale. Weird. Time passed. It might not have really been that long. So Sugumi and Sora are now looking for Sarah. Sugumi came bursting out of the water. On her back, she was carrying Sarah. Sara. Okay. I forgot the pain in my arm and yanked Sara up. Sara was like ice, cold and hard. In her firmly clenched fist was the pendant. Tsugumi put her hand on the back of her neck. Oh, what? No, Sara. It can't be. Sara, wake up, Sara. I shook Sara's cold body. Tsugumi tried to calm me down and spoke. We carried her to the infirmary and laid her on an examination table. Tsugumi immediately started giving her a heart massage. Takeshi and Yu were fiddling with the machines around the examination table and trying to learn more about Sara's status. Takeshi got out the defibrillator. A beep signaled that they were charged, and Takeshi placed 2 pads on Sara's chest. Sara's body jumped. Tsugumi put her hand on Sara's neck and shook her head. She went right back to massaging her heart. The beep echoed again, and then the electric pulse again. Sara's face was drained of color and her lips were blue. Her body was stiff and unresponsive. All I could do was watch the 3 of them busily work to save her. There was nothing in the drawers of memory accessible to me telling me how to act in this situation. Images of time I had spent with Sara until now flashed through my mind, and the voices in the room barely reached me. Finally, Tsugumi relaxed her hands. With a look of grief, she moved away from Sara. Takeshi also put the defibrillator back on the table. What happened? Hey, why are you all stopping? Hey, why do you all have those looks on your faces? It can't be. Sara, wake up, Sara. I started trying to copy Tsugumi's heart massage. The 3 of them watched with sad looks on their faces. Why do you all want to give up? Sara isn't going to die. She can't die here. I continued to pump her chest frantically. Sara, open your eyes. Open your eyes. You put her hand on my shoulder, but I shook her hand off and continued pushing on Sara's chest. Don't die. Open your eyes. Sara. I heard a voice. No, I didn't run away. I wanted to help you. I put more power into the hand I was using to push on her chest. Her ribs bent under the strain. Still, I kept pumping. I told you, Sara, I told you I would come to help you. I told you I'd come to help you, didn't I? I prayed for Sara's heart to start beating. Sara, you said you'd wait like a good girl. You said you'd wait, didn't you? I pushed a little harder. A little water came out of Sara's mouth. She started breathing faintly and more water came out of her mouth. Are you okay? Sara. I shook Sara desperately. She's alive. Sara's eyes opened slightly. Oh, Sara! That instant, the tension and atmosphere of the infirmary eased. Oh, thank goodness. Sara. I heard a song coming from somewhere. It was a soft but somehow lonely voice singing.
つのせい夢の中より待ち降りぬ今宵鳥船渦巻きように早く今夏と待ち降りぬ眠りたもゆるゆるゆられ眠りたも海に抱かれて
Look with a nostalgic feeling. I found myself on a narrow bed in the infirmary. Looking up at the white ceiling, I gently nodded off. My memories slowly came back to me, floating in the cosmic whale and saving Sara coming back to life. My fever worsening and then my collapsing. I looked over to the bed next to mine. Sara was asleep on the bed next to me. Her breathing was regular and her cheeks flushed a healthy pink. Feeling a bit relieved, I let myself half doze. From far away I could hear faint voices. They seemed to come from an incredible distance and were all jumbled together, but they sounded like Tsugumi and Takeshi. Their voices echoed slightly. The words were too faint for me to make out what they were saying. They were talking about Hamel or Harmel and something. The words I thought I had heard before, but the sounds quickly changed my mind and meaning was garbled. After a while the voices stopped. Out of habit, I touched my pinky to the thumb of my left hand. It felt a bit strange. I looked at my left hand and stared at the thumb. Something was strange, out of place. The blurriness of my vision suddenly came into focus. The scar was gone. Why? How could it be gone? I hurriedly sat up. I stared over my left hand again. The scar was nowhere to be found. I was sure there had been a scar there. I remember noticing it when I had opened the elevator to rescue Sara. Had it just been a figment of my imagination? No, I was sure it hadn't been. I was positive there had been a scar. But why had the scar suddenly vanished? A sense of loss flooded through me, making me feel like I had a gaping hole in my heart. I sensed that I had lost something critically important, but I was unsure of what. That was how I felt. Sora! Forgetting that Sara was sleeping, I shouted out for Sora.
Hey, 少年さん、何か?
Sora's voice answered me. Sora, did you do something to me?
何かとは?
Don't pretend you don't know. There was a scar on my left hand, but it's gone now.
ああ、そのことですか.
Sora appeared in the entrance to the room. What are you talking about?
眠っている間に摘出しておきました.
Extracted what?
こちらにいらしてください.
I approached the examination table as Sora suggested.
これです.
Sora pointed to a small shard suspended by a manipulator arm above the examination table.
摘出させていただきました.
What gave you the right to do that? It could have been a clue leading to my past. I let loose on Sora without thinking.
はい。ご指摘の点はごもっともです。しかし、体の中に異物を入れておいても何も良いことはありませんよ。それより少年さん、このかけらに見覚えはありませんか?
No, how could I? It didn't make sense to me why Sara would ask such a thing.
このかけらにはある画像が記録されていました。
Sora continued speaking calmly. An image?
ご覧になりますか?
I pinched the shard that had been buried in my thumb between my fingers. It had the same holographic image as in Sara's pendant. There was a picture of a man floating there.
見えるのですか?
Yeah, I can see it.
実はこのホログラム、ある特定の波長の光線を照射しなければ見えない仕組みになっているのです。今はレミのシステムを使ってそのかけらに光線を当てています。このホログラム、製造年代は特定できませんでしたが、とても古いバージョンのものであることは確かです。今、レミューの売店で売っているような商品とは基本的に原理が異なります。 かつてのホログラムは物体光と参照光、この2つの光によってできた干渉島を記録したものでした。簡単に言うと、物体光は被写体に反射した光のこと、参照光は物体光を干渉させる光のことです。よろしいですか？
Sora continued on without giving me time to think.
そしてここからが大事なところなのですが、こうしてできたホログラムを再生するには、記録した時の参照光と同じ波長の光をホログラムに当てなければならないのです。つまりまとめるとこういうことになります。このホログラムのかけらの画像はある特定の波長の光を使って撮影されたものであり、この画像を見るためにはそれと同じ波長の光を当てなければならないということです。蛍光灯の光では見えません。例えば日光や、あるいはライターの炎のような高温で発熱する光源が必要なのです。そして
Sora continued her explanation. She said the special wavelength of light was infrared in about 850 nanometers, and that ordinary people couldn't see infrared light. She went on to say that if a person were able to see infrared, they would even be able to see in the dark, but that they could only see objects that emitted heat. Put another way, objects that gave off heat also emitted infrared rays. And if you could see infrared rays, then you could tell the temperature of something without having to touch it.
この映像はその赤外線を見ることができなければ見えません。この映像が見えるということは、少年さんは赤外線が見えるということです。
But what about Sarah? Does that mean that Sarah can too?
はい、お二人は赤外線が見える特殊な視力の持ち主ということになります。
Oh, what? Thinking back on, that probably explained why Takeshi and you couldn't see the image in the pendant. But why was this hologram on my finger? I trembled as I said this. It's the same image as in Sarah's pendant. Are you saying that the missing piece of that pendant has been in my
そ
thumb?
れ以外に考えられません。鏡面の断面とかけらの形も一致しています。
But why?
それは少年さん、あなたと松永さんが兄弟だから。
Hold on, what? It can't be. Really?
二人が赤外線視力を持っているのもそのためです。おそらく遺伝によって受け継がれたものなのでしょう。
No. No, no, no.
少年さん、どうしてお喜びにならないのですか？
She's my sister?
あなたの肉親が見つかったのですよ。記憶を取り戻すためのこれ以上の手がかりがあるでしょうか？
No way, no. I held my head and crouched down.
いずれにせよ、これは事実です。受け入れてください。お二人が寝ている間に DNA 鑑定をさせていただきました。データはディスプレイに表示してあります。お二人が兄弟である確率はほぼ 100% です。
No, 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 no. Suddenly the wall to my memory that I had tried so hard to destroy, but I had been unable to breach, crumbled. Like a dam that was holding back the overflow of my memory, it burst, unleashing a torrent of images that flooded into my mind. Ugh. Memories of my life in no apparent order flashed across my mind like random slides appearing on a screen. From one to the next, they floated up and vanished. My mind couldn't handle the flood of memories. And then came the darkness. I heard a lullaby coming from somewhere.
まかいかかげし水のせい夢の
I have a
中
sister.
より待ち降りぬ今宵鳥船渦巻き鬼早く今夏と待ち降りぬ眠りたもゆるゆるゆられ眠りたも海に抱かれて
I actually have a sister. I groggily opened my eyes. I was lying on a hard bed. Whoa. Oh, don't cry. I heard a voice crying from outside. There was a girl surrounded by a group of bullies in an open space. It was Sara. The kids were being cruel, jeering her and making fun of her only the way that kids do. Can't. I ran up to Sara. What? The bullies scattered like baby spiders in the wind. Sara said that her precious pendant had been broken. Sara clutched the pendant firmly in her hand. I bent over to pick up the fragment from it. I felt a sudden shock from behind. I was plunged forward. With a sharp pain, the shard was buried in my thumb. No. Don't bully her. You meanies. The kids that always bullied Sara and encircled us. The laughter and howls of our tormentors echoed around us. You bullies, how could you do this to Sara? Forgetting myself, I lunged at the mob of kids. They beat me mercilessly, and as I lay on the ground in the open space, I faced skyward. Satisfied with what they had done to me, the bullies had left. Sara came and held out her hands to me. She smiled as she said it, even though I lost. Blood continued to drip from my finger. Not wanting to worry Sara, I pretended that everything was fine and dismissed it as nothing. I didn't say anything to our teacher. I didn't go to the doctor. I just silently endured the pain. It seemed to me that to tell someone of it would mean that I had lost. In time, the wound closed up. Then one day, a nice lady in a suit came. She told us there was a place we could go where things would be better. Saying this, the lady held out her hand. We could see things that other people couldn't. At first, we thought our abilities were normal, but everyone had shunned us. The lady said she wanted to study us. I decided to go along with the idea. Our caretaker is at the orphanage where we lived, happy to see us leave because they thought we were troublemakers. Our caretakers at the orphanage where we lived were happy to see us leave because they thought we were troublemakers. We fell right into their trap. They locked us in a small hospital room. Day in and day out, we were marched from that room to the research institute. At night, moonlight would stream in from the one window. The only things I remember are the white logos on the doors we passed every day, and the white frocks of the research employees. And every night, the voice of Sara crying in the room next to me. One day, there was something in the air that was different from other days. We were taken from our rooms and led to a research office in a different area. People who I'd never seen before took me away. Sara alone was left there. I could hear Sara's screams. I shook off the adult hands and ran to where Sara was. The researchers tried to block my path. Sara! Sara, wait for me. I'll come back for you, I promise. I will come find you. Be a good girl and wait for me. I had promised. That was how things were. Back then I had promised. I promised to go get her, but I hadn't gone. I couldn't go. I was moved to another facility, and after a while I was taken to a new home. My foster parents were good people. They were good to me if I didn't get out of line. But they had sold their souls too, and were controlled by Lieblich. I passed my time under their forgiving but ever-present eyes, not being able to search for Sara. Still, there were times when I did my best to find leads to her. But I didn't even know where the research facility was, and something would always get in my way, and after a while I couldn't search anymore. I just hadn't been able to help Sara with my limited powers. But no matter what excuses I came up with, the result was the same. I had abandoned Sara. In the isolated clinic room into which the cold moonlight shined. I couldn't keep my promise. Even now, Sara was on the other side of the door. I knew that she was still waiting for me in that miserable little room, still believing in me. Just as I had promised. The sense of guilt I felt overpowered me. It left me with an agonizing sense of hopelessness and utter despair. There was nothing I could do. I didn't have any other choice. What else could I have done? When I opened my eyes, I was lying on a bed in the infirmary. I didn't know if someone had brought me there or I had dried myself unconsciously. I looked at my watch without thinking. Not much time had passed since I had passed out. Laying on the bed, I looked up at the ceiling and thought about the events leading up to this point. The reason I had known that I was too hot inside the generator room was my infrared vision. And the moonlight coming from the inverter unit had been the same thing. In the darkness, I had mistaken the heat from the inverter as moonlight, and the shock that I felt when I met Sara made sense too. We were siblings after all. Probably even without my memory, in the back of my mind I had known. That's why, the first time I had seen Sara. And why had she grasped my thumb in the darkness? Why had she sung that lullaby that time?
本当に知らない？そっか。そうだよね。
It seemed to me that Sara had probably noticed that we were brother and sister. So, I raised myself up. Sara was still asleep in the bed next to me. I stood next to Sara's pillow and stared down at her face. My memory was still a little jumbled, but there was no mistaking that face. It was Sara. Little Sara had grown to be 16. It had to be her. I was sure it was Sara. The sister that I had made a promise to find, but then broke. I felt so guilty and ashamed, I couldn't look at Sara's face. It was hard just being there. I didn't know what to say to Sara. What excuses could I make to her? No matter what I said to her, it would all ring hollow. I wanted to get out of there before Sara woke up. I walked toward the door.
お兄ちゃん？
With her voice, my legs stopped. I didn't have the courage to turn around.
ねえ、お兄ちゃんなんだよね。
Sara continued talking. Each of her words was like a stab in the heart.
お兄ちゃん？
No. I spit out the words without thinking.
え？
You were wrong about me.
そんなはずない。お兄ちゃんでしょ？
No. I sensed that Sara was about to get up from the bed, so I tried to leave.
待ってよお兄ちゃん。
Her voice sounded just like when she had cried out to me when she was a child, and I froze, unable to
お兄
move.
ちゃんでしょ？ねえ、そうだよね。
Sara grabbed my shoulders.
ねえ、なんで黙ってるの？こっちを向いてよ。
Sara circled around in front of me all the time, holding my shoulders, but I couldn't bear to look Sara in the face and turned away.
お兄ちゃん。なんでこっちを見てくれないの？ねえ、私を見てよ。ねえったら。
No, no, no! I shook off Sara's hands. Sara! Sara threw her arms around me, hugging me tightly. Sara's eyes stared directly at me.
どうして否定するの？お兄ちゃんでしょ？お兄ちゃんなんでしょ？
No, no, I'm...
どうして違わないよ。お兄ちゃんだよ。待ってたんだよ。ずっと待ってたんだよ。お兄ちゃんのことずっと待ってたんだよ。お兄ちゃん。
Sara fell to the ground and I said nothing to her. I just ran out of the room. That's right, I ran away. I ran from Sara and my past. I squatted in a small room in the back of the warehouse. All I could do was just keep running away from Sara and my past. I was such a coward. Overcome by the memories that had come rushing back to me, I had run away from my sister. I couldn't even accept my own weakness. I denied myself. It was less scary than acknowledging what I had done. I was such a coward. Had I known this would happen, I would have never wanted my memory back. Things were better when I didn't remember anything. Crouched there in the corner, I was paralyzed. I couldn't face Sara, my own sister. All I could do was watch the time pass by. My memory had been completely restored, apart from recent events. I knew my age, address, and phone number. I also remembered my foster mother and father. Still, there was just one crucial thing that I couldn't remember. That was my name. What was my name? What was I called? I didn't know. Why was that the only thing that I couldn't remember? As long as I couldn't remember that, I felt incomplete, as if the essence of my existence were concentrated into my name. As long as I couldn't remember my name, I couldn't feel complete. That was how I felt. No matter how much else I remembered, that one point escaped me. Then I thought back about what it was that made me lose my memory. The massive guilt I felt towards Sara. I wondered if that was why I remembered. Oh, but there was too much about that theory that didn't make sense. I'd lost my memory before meeting Sara, and before the accident at LeMU, and I couldn't remember what I was doing just before then, or why I had come to LeMU. It might have been that I had seen Sara at LeMU, and then it had happened. But something didn't seem right about that either. I couldn't imagine why only my name and recent events would not come back to me. I had already remembered Sara. It would make sense for me to remember everything. I wondered what kind of amnesia it might be. A sudden sound and shaking made me look up. The next instant, warning alarms started streaking. All around me, the squeal of straining metal echoed from the structure. The shaking continued on and off. What? I ran out of the room. Water. I noticed something strange as I emerged in the corridor. Water was flowing and I couldn't believe that water could have reached here. You, what is this? Did something happen? What? Where? She found a way out again. Great. What's this again?
急げ。いいから。
いい？やっと地上と連絡がついてても、だから。
Yep.
急げ。こっちだ。
Yeah, I've ever seen this. Yeet. Mario isn't here. Yeah, that's the same thing that happened last time, right? Okay, now I have to find Sara. I went down the stairs and came out as White Stock's emergency corridor. It looked like the emergency power had already died. I wondered where Sara might be. I thought frantically. If she had turned back part way, then she probably wouldn't have made it to Driftstock, but I couldn't be sure. If she had gone all the way down to Driftstock, then I would never make it in time if I looked around Whitestock first. I didn't know what to do. I had to decide whether I would start looking at Driftstock or from Whitestock. Okay, I do want to save on this choice. Alright. Let's do Driftstock. I decided to start searching from Driftstock. I figured the water pressure would be higher there and the flooding more serious. If she were in Driftstock, then I'd have to start there to have any hope of finding her. I headed down the stairs to Driftstock. Reaching the emergency corridor, I arrived at Driftstock. If Sara were here, where would she be? The conference room or the control room? Or could she have been at one of the attractions? I didn't have much time. Peering down through the emergency hatch, I realized that the flooding had already progressed a lot. It seemed best to check each room from the emergency corridor rather than going all the way down. I wondered if Sara really were on this floor. But having come so far, I knew there was no going back. I ran through the emergency corridor. I exited on the emergency corridor furthest outside. Opening the emergency hatch to each room, I peeked inside. If Sara were here, or there, I'd be able to see her body heat. I looked in the conference room and the control room, but there was no sign of her there. The water continued to rise. The doors beyond the elevator hall didn't open. I frantically ran down the emergency corridor, moving from one attraction to the next. I checked the rest area and then looked down into the marine ruins, but Sara wasn't there. Maybe she wasn't on this floor. The sound of the water grew louder and the shaking of the structure stronger. If I didn't hurry, I wouldn't make it back to Zoidstock. I knew I had to hurry to the emergency stairs. I sprinted the stairs and up to Zoidstock. I had lost a lot of time. I had to hurry. Finally, I arrived back at Zoidstock. LeMU was shaking terribly, and the area below the emergency hatch had already filled with water. It looked like water was about to flood into the corridor. I plunged into the water. Swimming desperately to the security office, I forgot the pain in my arm and looked inside. Sara wasn't there. I was able to steal a breath using the air at the top of the room. Where could Sara be? I dove into the water again and swam for the infirmary. The infirmary door was open. I looked inside. Sara! Sara's body stood out white in the dark water. This room also had a pocket of air near the ceiling. Sara was just barely floating there. I floated to the surface. Sara! I swam up next to Sara.
ちゃん
Are you okay, Sara?
大丈夫だよ
She smiled weakly. She was spent and unsteady on her feet.
お兄ちゃんなんで戻ってきたの
I came back to get you, of course.
迎えに
Sure, I promised, didn't I?
そっかやっと迎えに来てくれたんだね
Oh, I'm so sorry, Sara. I know I made you wait such a long time.
いいんだよもうこうして来てくれたんだもん
Sara, why did you come back?
これを取りに
Saying that Sara moved the fragment that was embedded in my finger. That's...
これを忘れてたから
You came back for that?
だってこれはお兄ちゃんが私を守ってくれた大切な証だからこれがなくなってしまったらお兄ちゃんとの絆までなくしてしまいそうな気がしたから
Sara,
ごめんねお兄ちゃんまで巻き込んじゃって
Sara, it's okay.
ごめんなさい
It's alright. I only came to keep my
お
promise.
兄ちゃんありがとう
I desperately tried to prop up Sara to keep her from sinking.
ごめんねもうダメ浮かんでいられないや
Sara, hold on.
ごめんねごめんねお兄ちゃん
Sara, hang on. Fight, Sara.
なんだかぼーっとしてきちゃった
Sara. I remember that the air pressure here was compressed to 4.5 atmospheres because of the water pressure. Sara probably got an oxygen poisoning from breathing the oxygen-heavy air. Oh, ouch. That compounded with the fatigue from treading water in cold seawater. The combination had probably rapidly robbed Sara of her strength. Sara, hang in there.
お兄ちゃん頑張るねでももう体が動かない
I didn't know what to do. And I finally found Sara. Anyway, let's head for the emergency corridor. Before the water hadn't flooded into the emergency corridor, if we could just get there. Listen, Sara. I grabbed the weakened Sara and tried to dive underwater. It was then that it happened. A metallic scream echoed through LeMU as a shock wrecked the structure. At the same time, the flow of the water increased dramatically. The shock shook Sara loose from my grasp. I hurriedly struggled to lift her up. It looked like she had swallowed some water. Her breathing was labored. What should I do? What could I do? With it all grown, LeMU tilted, causing the water to ripple. Hang on, Sara, just hang on. I called to Sara as I desperately floated in the waves at the surface.
ごめんね。ごめんね。もう体が動かないよ。
No, Sara, hang on. We finally found each other. Sara, open your eyes, Sara.
お兄ちゃん、来てくれてありがとう。
Sara's body went limp. I swore inside my mind. Why? 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 I wondered if there was no way that I could save Sara. I took a big breath and, holding Sara, dove underwater. I meant to get us out of LeMU. If I let us stick around, we would have been crushed. The regular shocks continued and the sounds of metal and metal echoed harshly. LeMU was already mostly filled with water. I ducked into a crack running down the wall that was just big enough. And I slipped outside. There, the sprawling darkness of the ocean surrounded me. My only hope was the light piercing through the water from above. Clutching Sara, I swam toward it. But swimming with my injured arm and holding a limp Sara was nearly impossible. The water pressure constricted my chest, forcing out my air. But I kept swimming. My body was screaming for air. My eyes clouded. Flashes of white light darted across my vision. It was no good. I couldn't see. I wasn't sure if I were heading upward or maybe downward. My right arm, Sara felt cold, nearly frozen. I didn't think I'd make it. My arms refused to move. My legs. I took Sara and I couldn't take it anymore. I swallowed water. My consciousness was slipping. My body had no power. Sara. I'm sorry, Sara. I just couldn't quite seem to save Sara. Sara. The darkness enveloped me, stealing away my consciousness. Okay. Neat. Okay. And start with Whitestock. No, I thought Sara was somewhere in Whitestock. I didn't know why, but I was sure of it. She was probably somewhere in Whitestock. I knew it might be a meaningless hunch, but maybe it was our sibling bond talking to me. Sara and I had the same blood in our veins. That was my thinking. It was probably my imagination, but it was all I had to bet on. I opened the emergency hatch and saw that water had already covered 3/4 of the corridor. Without hesitating, I threw myself in. The water flowed unpredictably with whirlpools forming here and there. I endured the pain in my right arm and slammed desperately. First, I looked in the security office. There was no source of heat that looked like Sara. From there, I made for the warehouse, but Sara wasn't there. I checked the merry-go-round, but she wasn't there either. Ahead of me was the elevator hall. Again, no Sara. I swam back up the corridor. Water completely covered the entrance to the infirmary. I took a breath and dove underwater. I put my hand on the door and peered inside. And there was Sara. Sara's body heat made her stand out brightly against the cool surrounding darkness. I went into the infirmary and floated to the surface. Sara looked surprised when I broke through to the surface.
少年。お兄ちゃん。
Sara, you're alright.
お兄ちゃん。どうして？
I promised, didn't I? I told you that I'd come find you, didn't I? Finally, the roaring sound stopped and the flow of the water slowed. The squeaking and screeching of metal on metal also died down. It seemed that the flooding had stopped. There was still a little air left in the ceiling of the infirmary. It was kind of like a cup flipped upside down, filled mostly with water. Sara and I were floating there. It looks like things have quieted down a bit. I looked at Sara. In the darkness, the only thing throwing off a gentle aura of light was Sara. Sara, you alright?
大丈夫。ちょっと寒いかな。
Sara forced a smile for me. Sara, why did you come back? All you had to do was go a little more and you would have been safe.
あのね、お兄ちゃん怒らない？
Mad? Why would I get mad?
だって
Just tell me. I thought something was strange. From the beginning, Sarah had always seemed like she had the upper hand in our relationship. But now that we knew that we were brother and sister, it felt like things had been reversed. Now Sarah was relying on me like
あの
when
ね
we were kids.
お兄ちゃんこれ
Sarah lifted her right hand. Pinched between her fingers was the shard of the mirror from my finger. Hey, it's that piece of the mirror.
途中でこれを置きっぱなしだったのに気がついたの。
So you came back for something like this?
こんなものじゃないよ。お兄ちゃんが必死で守ってくれた大事なものだよ。
Sarah. But this isn't something worth risking your life to come back for. You had the pendant anyway.
ごめんね。お兄ちゃんまで巻き添えにしちゃって。
I chose to turn back. You can't blame yourself for that.
ごめん。
After that, Sarah didn't speak for a while. Sarah?
本当はそれだけじゃないの。
Huh?
外に出るのが怖かったの。
Scared of what?
外に出たらまた元のような日々が戻ってくるんだって思ったらそれ以上足が動かなくなったの。
Like it was? What are you talking about?
またライプリヒに監視されて自由も何もない世界に戻るのかと思ったらもう二度とこんな自由を味わえないのかと思ったら動けなかった。
Paralyzed?
レミューに閉じ込められてからみんなは何とか脱出しようとしてたみたいだけど私は嬉しかった。どこにも監視する人もいない。私が私の意思で何でも決めていいんだってそう思ったらすごく嬉しかった。ライプリヒの研究所に入ってからこんな自由を感じたことは一度もなかったから。
Sarah's words left me stunned. I wondered why I'd never thought of things that way before. Lieblich had written me off early on. I figured that it was probably because the only special power I had was seeing infrared light, but Sarah was probably different. The way that she had been able to use computers, you could call her a first-rate hacker. It was probably only the beginning. After I left the institute, Sarah must have yeah, I couldn't keep up. Hooked under constant observation and undergone experiments. Thinking about it then amazed me.
フラが最初はこの事故も私の能力を試すための実験か何かと思ったの。でもナッキュ先輩もいたしどうもそうではなくて本当の事故なんだって分かった後は
Hey.
フラが RSD だって分かった後は私の監視役なんじゃないかって疑ったりもしたんだ。嬉しかった。今までずっとどこにいても誰かが私のことを監視してた。高校の中ででも街に出てもずっと逃げ出そうとしても無駄だった。私は研究所に帰るしかなかった。研究所に帰ればまた実験や検査の繰り返し。私には自由なんかどこにもなかった。だからね、私にはあの事故が嬉しかったの。そんなこと言ったらいけないのかもし
Are
れ
you
ない。
happy that you found your brother
みんなは
now?
必死だったんだし。でも私には今までこんな自由はなかったから。
Sarah. That was all that I could say. Sarah's each and every word made my heart ache. I knew that wasn't Sarah's intention, but it felt like every word of hers was a confession to me. Of course, I had been under surveillance as well, but it had been nowhere near as strict. As long as I didn't do anything out of the ordinary, it was like there was no one there. The whole time I had been living carefree. But Sarah had been under Liebwick's careful watch the whole time, their guinea pig. Why hadn't I gone to help Sarah earlier? I promised that I would, but I hadn't. Of course, I had tried. But everything I did was blocked by Liebwick's far-reaching influence. Still, I knew there could be no excuses. Why hadn't I tried harder? Why?
お兄ちゃん
Sarah was calling to me. So this is why she had been daydreaming in my own world. Is so good at
ありがとう
hacking. For what?
来てくれたから
No, I left you there by yourself. I didn't come for you.
うん来てくれたよありがとう来てくれて
Sarah said this and smiled. The smile also seemed tinged with resignation.
もういいんだ私はここで死んでもいい
Sarah, what are you saying?
だって最後に自由を味わえたしお兄ちゃんにもこうして会えたんだもんあんな生活に戻るくらいならいっそこのままここで死んでしまった方がいいよ私には今まで死ぬ自由もなかったから
Her words shocked me into silence. I had no idea that Sarah's life up until now had been so hard. But no, Sarah.
お兄ちゃん
Don't talk like that. We're going to live, no matter what. I wasn't about to let Sarah die here. There was absolutely no way that I would let Sarah die. If you die here, then that means you've lost to them. You're going to live, survive, no matter what. It was my responsibility to help Sarah live. Sarah, let's go. I said.
どこに
To the ocean surface.
どうやって
We'll swim.
無理だよ気圧が
We'll be okay. The air pressure here has been compressed by the water pressure. We're at about 4.5 atmospheres here. Even if we go out into the ocean from here, our lungs will be okay.
でも
We don't know that help will come for us, and even if it does, it might be too late. Besides, it's too dangerous for us to stay here. Listen, Sarah, we're breathing at 4.5 atmospheres. If we stay here, we are in danger of oxygen poisoning or nitrogen narcosis, and we have no idea how long LeMU will hold. If LeMU collapses, then we'll get dragged down with it. It's too dangerous to stay here.
ね
But
え私が泳げないの知ってるでしょ
you'll be okay. You're kind of swimming right now, aren't you? You'll just have to remember the lessons I gave you.
でも違うよ今は浮かんでるだけだもん外に出て泳ぐのとは違うよ
Sarah, you'll be okay. Don't worry. I'll lead you. I'll pull you all the way.
そんなの無理だよ
We can do it. Believe in your brother. I came here. I came to help you, Sarah.
お兄ちゃん
Sarah, believe in me. Sarah clasped the pendant she was wearing around her neck. Let's go, Sarah.
お兄ちゃん
I pulled Sarah along with me and we left the infirmary. We moved from air pocket to air pocket, looking desperately for a place where the wall had collapsed in. When we finally found a tear big enough for us to squeeze through, we doubled back to the nearest air pocket. We took a number of short breaths to boost the oxygen level in our blood, and finally taking a big breath, I grabbed onto Sarah's hand and led her through the hole and into the ocean. Did we make it out? With the walls and floor gone for an instant, I lost sense of which way was up and which was down. Soon I saw a faint light in the water above. I held Sarah under my arm and headed for that light. I desperately thrashed my legs and swam with my broken arm. The water pressure was slowly pushing the air from my lungs. Sarah's face was twisted in pain. I was in agony. Still, I swam, struggling to pull Sarah toward the light. I kept kicking, believing that if I could make it to the source of the light, then everything would be okay. Even if all the oxygen were squeezed out of my lungs, I was not about to let Sarah die here. That thought kept me moving. Slowly, gradually, the light was getting bigger. Sarah's arms squeezed me in desperation. Hoping to give Sarah courage, I gripped her tighter with my left arm. As if in response, Sarah gave me a smile and started trying to swim upward. I matched her movement, swimming desperately. Come, Sarah. Let's go. Toward the light. I was never going to let Sarah go again. I was never going to leave my precious sister behind again. Never again. Sarah. Did we actually survive? Did we make it? Did we make it to the surface? Whoa, are we alive? I hope so. Yeah, credits. Yay! Nice. Wow, look at that. Those were a lot of really big reveals. She's my sister. Oh, I think we got out, right? I heard a low mechanical sound from far away. The breeze passed through the trees. Tui was making a rustle. The same wind gently caressed my cheeks. Wind? Rustling leaves? I opened my eyes slowly. I didn't know where I was for a moment. Had there been a place like this in LeMU? I looked up. There was no ceiling. There was just a sprawling, starry sky. It was not like a fake sky like in the cosmic whale room, but a sky that felt broad and infinite. I was on the ground. More precisely, I was on the floating island in Selnol. Yes, I had we had swam to it. The nearly 100 feet from White Stock to the surface. Somehow, I climbed into the emergency entrance of Inselno, holding Sara, unconscious, in my arms. I remember checking to see if Sara was alright. After that, I probably fainted from fatigue and a lack of oxygen. I woke up with a start, looked around, and was relieved to see Sara lying down next to me. Her chest rose and fell faintly. I could hear the regular sound of her breathing. I looked around again. I checked around the edge of Inselno, which was a lush park. I could see the administration center, hotel, and a tower lay behind the trees. It was still dark, so it didn't seem like I'd been unconscious very long. Maybe about an hour or so. I was impressed that we had been able to swim all the way to the surface. I went over it again in my head. Suddenly, a conversation in the control room with Sara came to my mind.
15階建てのビルを想像してみてください。あるいは3階建ての校舎を5個積み重ねたものでも良いかもしれません。では10階建てのビルではどうですか？水深34メートル、ツバイとシュトックがこの位置にあります。
How had I responded to Sora? I remembered. I had said it was impossible. Sora said I was being rational. But even Sora could be wrong. We were able to swim at Sora. That reminded me, I wondered what had happened to Sora. Had she suffered the equivalent of death from the blackout? No, Sora was RSD generated. She wasn't human. She couldn't die. I knew that, but I had been with her for such a long time. And Sora was, how could I describe it? She was so human. I felt a blunt sense of sadness, as if I had lost a close friend. Sara's voice pulled me back to reality. This was not the time to be thinking about such things. Sara? I shook Sara's shoulder gently. Sara opened her eyes slightly. Are you alive? Soon her eyes opened widely. Sara hurriedly sat up. Yay. We made it! Sara didn't seem to understand the situation. Sara, this is Inselnol. We're safe now. We made it. Over 100 feet from Zweitstock. Yes, we are alive. You are and I am too. Yeah, Sara, we did it. We survived. I told you to trust me. Sara smiled. She suddenly put her hand on her chest. She was probably touching the pendant under her shirt, checking to make sure it was still there. Looking relieved, she pulled the pendant out and grasped it in her hand. Sara whispered softly. I knew that the pendant was an irreplaceable lucky charm for Sara. Her face suddenly clouded over as she spoke. No, I don't think they made it. I think they are alright, really. By the time I turned back, they'd already climbed fairly high. If they kept going, they should have reached the surface. Sara looked relieved. We made it out, I know that. I don't know if they did. We had made it to the surface safely, but Sara didn't look very well. Was she worried about being taken back to Lake after all? Hey, Sara. Let's just keep running. Let's run away. Yes, from them. I mean, from Leiblich. It is possible. Think about it, Sara. This island has to be in utter chaos. Right? We've been flooded, and the whole complex is totally destroyed. And since you and the others got out, this place could be in major confusion, right?
そうだね。
They'll be telling everyone how we were left behind in LeMU, and for you and the others, it's the truth. If Leewook has their doubts and tries to look into them, that's as far as they can investigate. So right now, everyone, including Leewook people, will be turning their attention to LeMU and looking as hard under the ocean. Yeah, they're
Spreading
good.
your wings. Okay.
Boop it. Alright, hold on, that was too fast. So right now, everyone, including Leewook people, will be turning their attention to LeMU and looking under the ocean. They might actually think that we are already dead.
そうだよね。
So now is
チャンスなんだね。
right now. Now is the chance we've been waiting for.
お兄ちゃんすごい。すごい。
We're already here, so it is impossible for them to find us in LeMU. And if they don't find us in LeMU, they will expand their search for us to the sea around this area. They might suspect that we died and the current carried us off
その
somewhere.
間に私たちが身を隠しちゃえば追ってくることなんかできないはずだよね。
Yeah, I'm not sure if we can pull it all off that easily, so now we have to run away. But we'll still have plenty of head start before they figure out the truth.
でも
Suddenly, Sarah looked down.
でもこの島からどうやって逃げるの？
What?
だってここから出る方法がなきゃ逃げようがないでしょ。
Yeah, that's...
それは
Sarah looked at me as if she was full of confidence in me. Oh, well... She had me. I hadn't thought about that. I thought we would be alright if we could just make it to the surface. I desperately tried to think of something. I know, I've got it! There should be all kinds of people around right now that aren't normally here, like construction workers and technical staff. So ships and helicopters should come and go frequently. First of all, we find some clothes and change. Especially your uniform, it really stands out.
そうだね。
Sarah looked herself over again. And if we can't get aboard a helicopter, then we can sneak onto some ship and get to some port. And after that, we're going to be alright.
そっか。やっぱりお兄ちゃんすごいね。そこまで考えてたんだ。
No, well, sure. Sarah was innocently happy. I thought to myself that I could fight to protect her smile with my life. I thought that would be my mission. Let's go, Sarah. I held out my left hand to Sarah. Sarah reached out to me hesitantly. I held her hand tight and squeezed it tight. The warmth of her soft hand spread to mine. For an instant, the memory of Sarah holding my thumb flashed across my mind. That fragment in my hand, that shard, had helped me retrieve my memory and rediscover the bond between Sarah and me. Let's go, Sarah.
お兄ちゃん
We're going to be free.
自由に。
Yes, free. I would never leave Sarah again. I would protect Sarah no matter what. We started running toward freedom. Yay! We made it out. Yes! Woohoo! Well, Sarah's done. That's her route. Great. Interesting. I didn't know she was his sister. That was pretty big of a reveal there. Wow. Bye!